It's just a pronoun. No, it's not. Trust me, some of the smallest things can make a world of difference. So says Samantha, a trans woman. Last week, I was participating in a Zoom webinar. The facilitator began with an introduction. Buenos dias, mi nombre es Declan. Good morning. My name is Declan, and my pronouns are they, them, theirs. Please take a moment and add your pronouns to your name in the Zoom room. As I was adding he, him, his to my Zoom ID, a colleague of mine, also in the webinar, sent me a private chat. Why do I need to list my pronouns next to my name? I have a full beard and mustache. It doesn't take much to know I'm a guy. I took a deep breath and typed back. Why make it about you? What if identifying your pronouns is about signaling to someone else that you are sensitive to gender diversity? My friend typed back, huh? I replied, what if identifying your pronouns is signaling that you aren't making an assumption about anyone else's gender? Since you are part of this cisgendered majority, what if identifying your pronouns is signaling that all people are welcome here regardless of gender identity? He typed back, I hadn't thought about it in that way. I replied, many of us haven't had to think about it because we are comfortable living in a world that categorizes people as either this or that. But there are a lot of people for whom that doesn't match their authentic selves. He responded, I guess sharing pronouns is like flying the pride flag. It's a way of saying, this is a safe place for you to be exactly who you are. As I commented in a sermon last year, I was raised at a time when the cultural and religious norm regarding gender was binary, which means there are only two options when it comes to gender: girl, boy, man, woman, female, male. Within that binary, there were strict gender rules that defined what it meant to be a real woman and what it meant to be a real man. Those norms were, of course, defined largely by men, usually as a way to control and devalue anyone they didn't think was a real man. To step outside of those rigid binary norms was immediately to be seen as less than and other. This narrow understanding of gender gave no space for anyone who didn't fit into this binary construction of gender. It limited gender identity. What is gender identity? Gender identity is how and what you feel inside in terms of gender, who you know yourself to be, and how you express your gender through clothing, behavior, and personal experience. For some of us, whatever gender we are now is the same as what was assigned to us at birth. We are cisgender, based on the Latin word cis, meaning on the same side. Others of us know that the gender assigned to us at birth is different than our true gender identity. For example, our gender presumed at birth was female, but our gender identity, how we feel and who we are inside, is male. We are transgender, or trans. Trans being a word that means on the other side. Some of us do not identify with the categories of male and female. We are non-binary, or as some prefer to call ourselves, gender queer. For others of us, our gender identity can shift within and between the female and male spectrum, or be a unique and wonderful mix. We are gender fluid, or gender expansive. Some of us identify as having no gender. We are agender. Some of us are questioning or exploring our gender identity. Some of us choose to not label ourselves in any way. The world can be an inhospitable, unyielding, grueling, dangerous, and sometimes deadly place for those who identify as trans, non-binary, genderqueer, gender fluid, gender expansive, agender, or non-gender. Today, we know in parts of this country, their very right to exist is being erased by state legislatures and school boards. Chella Mann, a popular author, artist, actor, and YouTube sensation, writes, "All of who I am lies on a continuum. My identity cannot be encompassed by a single term. My ethnicity, I am biracial. I'm both Jewish and Chinese. My gender, I exist outside the binary of boy and girl. My disability, I am deaf with access to some sound through 2 cochlear implants." Chella Mann continues, "I have not always known these gender expressions. To understand them, I first had to unlearn. It required diving deep into the systems that oppressed me, scraping the surface to expose them, and studying their roots. And while it was terrifying, I understand that communities standing by me would always offer support. That love and empathy, products of this ever-long process of discovery, can melt the cold, hard surface of the iceberg. Together, we will rebuild these systems around inclusivity and accessibility by embracing individuality and by living our truths." As Unitarian Universalists, I believe we are being called to become and be this community of support. We are called to rebuild our congregation around greater inclusivity and accessibility. We are called to embrace individuality and to allow each other to live our truths, remembering that we are all interconnected and responsible to and for each other. This is why we recently voted to add an 8th principle to our previous 7. Respecting, honoring, celebrating gender identity was part of that vote. I often say that the purpose of our Unitarian Universalist religion is to expand the boundaries of our heart so we can hold more, care more, and love more. That's why our mission statement begins, and will you say this with me, please? La misión de la Iglesia Unitaria Universalista de Fresno es amar inclusivamente. The mission of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno is to love inclusively. We believe that loving inclusively is a core value of our Unitarian Universalist faith, a faith that cries out, whoever you are, wherever you are on your journey, whatever you are welcome here. Whoever you are, whatever you are, wherever you are on your journey, here you are welcome. You are welcome here. To collectively live out this welcome as inclusively as possible, dear ones, is a spiritual practice. It is a spiritual practice to create a space, to create a place that is truly welcoming of the full spectrum of gender identities. It is a spiritual practice to be mindful of our pronouns. It is a spiritual practice to share our pronouns so that others might feel comfortable sharing theirs. It is a spiritual practice to share our pronouns so that others might feel comfortable showing up as their true selves. So, as a spiritual practice, after our name, we might add our pronouns. She, her. Others of us might list he, him. Some of us may use one set of pronouns one day and the other set of pronouns the next because of our gender fluidity. Others of us might identify they, them, which is signaling we don't identify on the binary spectrum of gender, or we just want to be gender inclusive. Others of us might identify our gender fluidity or non-binary identity as she, they, she, he, or he, them. Some of us choose to use no pronouns at all and use our name instead. Others use brand new pronouns that have been created as intentionally gender neutral, new pronouns for this new time, including but not limited to sie, here, hears, sie, zir, zirs. When talking about gender inclusion and using gender-inclusive pronouns in a Unitarian Universalist congregation, that usually has just a few teachers, some of them English teachers. We sometimes get pushback from those of us who believe that we should not refer to a singular person with the plural they, them, because it is not grammatically correct. Is anybody willing to cop to that? So let me offer, thank you, Carrie. Let me offer a gentle reframe. Language is a living thing. It changes and adapts over time. In fact, in the year 1396, Geoffrey Chaucer used they as a singular in his book, Canterbury Tales. Shakespeare also did it. Now, granted, in the year 2000, they, them was generally understood to be plural. But in 2022, there is a growing understanding that it is plural and singular. Language changes. Those of us who are cisgender need to remember that language is not about the way we want it to be. It is about the way some need it to be in order to survive and thrive. Creating a space, creating a place that is truly welcoming of the full spectrum of gender identities is a spiritual practice. It could be, dare I say, should be our spiritual practice. So today, we begin the spiritual practice together as a Unitarian Universalist community of faith. We're going to take some baby steps with good intentions. On our virtual campus, we invite you to introduce yourself in the chat box with your pronouns. And then after the service, everybody can update your social media to display your pronouns. If you don't know how to do that, ask us to help. That's Chloe at the beginning of the service, our communications coordinator. She'll figure it out for you. I spent a half hour trying on Facebook yesterday to have my name, Tim Kutzmark. How do I add he, him, his on that main title page? I couldn't figure it out, but Chloe's going to help me. In Zoom, how many of us use Zoom? I know not everybody loves it, but how many of us use Zoom? In Zoom, we can add our pronouns next to our names. It doesn't hurt to put apostrophe, boop, boop, apostrophe. On either church campus, at the start of meetings, classes, and workshops, we can just begin by introducing ourselves. Hi, I'm Tim, and my pronouns are he, him, his. See, no lightning came from the sky. Here on our Alluvial Avenue campus, today, after the service, outside in the courtyard, we have a table set up with green pronoun ribbons, bingo, that we can choose to add to our name tag. There are they, them ribbons. There are she, her ribbons. There are he, him ribbons. There are blank ribbons and black Sharpies so you can add and identify with other pronouns of your choice. I really hope we will do this. And if you don't have a name tag, talk to Patty, get one, and then let's slap one of those green ribbons on it. Dear ones, in all seriousness, it is a spiritual practice to share our pronouns so that others might feel comfortable showing up as their true selves. We end with words from Reverend Teresa Soto, a Unitarian Universalist minister of color whose pronouns are they, them, theirs. I invite us to open our hearts and minds to these words. But I especially invite those of us who identify as cisgender to open our hearts and minds so that we may grow, deepen, and perhaps, as needed, change. Reverend Teresa Soto writes, "Dear trans, non-binary, genderqueer, and gender-expansive friends and kin, and those of us whose gender is survival. You are not hard to love and respect. Your existence is a blessing. Your pronouns are not a burden or a trial. They are part of your name, just shorter. Some of our kind use only their names, where pronouns would be the names they are called. Remember that someone getting them wrong is not a poor reflection on you. It's not your fault. Your body really and truly belongs to you, no one else. The stories of your body, the names of your body's parts, your body's privacy, the sum of your body's glory. It is not okay for anyone to press their story of you back to the beginning of our liberation. We will find the people ready to be on the freedom for the people way. We will go on. No one can rename you other. It can't stick as you offer the gift of being and saying who you are. Mostly, though, your stories belong to you. Your joy and complexity are beautiful. However you may choose to tell it or not tell it. Some folks, cis, may take their liberty for an unholy license. You are beloved. Please keep to our shared tasks of healing, getting free. Que así sea. Bendito sea. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen.